Meanwhile, an unsettling story of corporate greed unfolds naturally beneath the rollerblading bloodshed, keeping the stakes high. Rollerdrome was a sleeper hit of 2022, so if you've been napping on this one, now's the time to wake up and play. Stray, a perfectly contained adventure game that has you embodying a cat in a post-apocalyptic world humans have left behind. It has plenty of fresh ideas, each one pared down to its purest form. Plenty of actions in Stray exist simply because they make sense for a cat protagonist, and probably because they're cute as hell. There's a discrete button to meow, and the robots the cat shares its world with react with shock and frustration when you cut across their board game, throwing pieces to the floor. It's possible to curl up and sleep basically anytime, anywhere, even directly on top of a robot stranger. When the cat gets pets and cuddles from the robots, it purrs, and the DualSense haptics fire up in response. The environmental puzzles take advantage of this cat-level perspective, inviting players to look at the world with different, light-reflective eyes. As well as puzzle solving, ledge leaping, and blob dodging, Stray introduces a world of light-hearted dystopia, where robots don't hate the humans that came before them. Instead, they attempt to cultivate plants that can survive in the dark, just because people would have liked that. Compared with most dystopian cyberpunk games, Stray is downright joyful. Even though Blizzard has improved the on-ramp for new players this time around, Overwatch 2 still has a steep learning curve. Stick with it, though, and you'll get to indulge in perhaps the best team shooter around. Overwatch 2 has a deceptively simple goal: stand on or near an objective and keep the other team away long enough to win. It's much more complex in practice. To the untrained eye, matches may seem like colorful chaos, but Overwatch 2 has a deceptively simple goal: stand on or near an objective and keep the other team away long enough to win. It's much more complex in practice. Blizzard reduced the number of players on each team from 6 to 5. That, along with across-the-board character tweaks, has made gameplay faster-paced and more enjoyable compared with the original Overwatch. There's a greater emphasis on individual impact, but you'll still need to work well with your teammates to secure a victory. Now featuring a cast of more than 30 heroes, each with distinct abilities and playstyles, you'll surely find a few Overwatch 2 characters that you can connect with. The first batch of new heroes are all a blast to play. There are many great, though often fairly expensive, new skins to kit them out with too. The game looks and sounds terrific too, thanks to Blizzard's trademark level of polish. At least until you figure out how to play Overwatch 2, you can marvel at how good it looks. Beat Saber is a euphoric gaming sensation that makes the most of virtual reality. You'll swing your unofficial lightsabers at incoming boxes, slicing and slamming them to the beat of the soundtrack. Similar to the iconic rhythm rail shooter, Rez, which has course, be leveling up your abilities and boosting stats with items, but really the game's systems fall away in place of a truly engaging story, featuring some of the finest writing to ever grace a video game. With the final cut, released 18 months after the original, this extremely dialogue-heavy game now has full voice acting, which brings the unique world more to life than ever before. After debuting on PC, PS5 and Stadia, Final Cut is now available for all extant home consoles, including Nintendo Switch. Master Chief's latest adventure may not make much sense narratively, but it sure is fun to play. After the middle efforts from 343 Industries over the last decade, Halo Infinite manages to breathe new life into Microsoft's flagship franchise, while also staying true to elements fans love. The main campaign is more open than ever, while also giving you new freedom of movement with the trusty grappling hook. And the multiplayer mode is wonderfully addictive, though 343 still needs to speed up experience progression, with a bevy of maps and game modes to keep things from getting too stale. The only thing keeping it from greatness is its baffling and disjointed story. Who hasn't wanted to captain their own spaceship? Well, after a few hours of FTL, faster than light, you might be rethinking your life goals. FTL is a roguelike, which means every game starts from the same spot. All you have to do is travel through a number of star systems, recruiting crew members and collecting scrap as you make your way towards a final showdown against a stupidly overpowered ship. Gameplay is roughly divided between a map view, where you can take as much time as you like to chart the most efficient route to your goal, and combat events which play out in real time, although you can and will be using a pause button to slow things down. Where the real fun comes in is in the narrative, which plays out in two ways. There's the structured side, where every so often you'll be asked to make decisions that may improve or hinder your chances of survival. And then there's the natural story you create for yourselves, as you're forced to decide, for example, whether it's worth sacrificing a crew member for the greater good. Hades was the first early access title to ever make our best PC game list. It's an action RPG developed by the team behind Bastion, Transistor, and Pyre. You play Zagreus, son of Hades, who's having a little spat with his dad, and wants to escape from the underworld. To do so, Zagreus has to fight his way through the various levels of the underworld and up to the surface. Along the way, you'll pick up boons from a wide range of ancient deities like Zeus, Ares, and Aphrodite, which stack additional effects on your various attacks. Each level is divided into rooms full of demons, items, and the occasional mini-boss. As Hades is a roguelike game, you start at the same place every time. With that said, the items you collect can be used to access and upgrade new weapons and abilities that stick between sessions. Hades is on this list not for any reason other than it's super accessible and very, very fun. You can jump in for 30 minutes and have a blast, or find yourself playing for hours. Half-Life: Alyx feels like a miracle. After 13 years away from the franchise, Valve delivered a genuinely thrilling prequel to Half-Life 2 while also charting new territory for VR gameplay. The Gravity Gloves, its key new feature, is the closest I've ever felt to having telekinetic powers. It gives you multiple movement options so you don't get sick trotting around the expansive environments. Oh yeah, and it's also absolutely terrifying, banking on the claustrophobic nature of VR. There's no looking away when a facehugger leaps at you from the dark, or when a horrifically deformed zombie gets in your face. It might sound a bit hyperbolic, but Alyx might end up being one of the most important titles of this generation. Building a big-budget game for a niche VR market doesn't make much sense for most companies, but for Valve, it's Tuesday.